Hi, it's a beautiful day today in Montreal. The temperature is about 0 degrees Celsius, which for us is not cold. It's a beautiful day. If you're from the south, it's cold for you. But it's snowing today. And I remember when we were in Guyana, when it's raining, it was a great day to go either make patties or bake something. So today, our episode is we're going to bake Guyanese Pinetart. So let's go. So to make pine tart or pineapple tart, that will be called in North America, will be a pineapple tart, we need pineapple. So what I use two things. I use the pineapple tidbits, and I also use the crushed pineapple. Okay? So what I have is 2 cans. You drain the water, 2 cans of the tidbits, and 1 can of the crushed pineapple. So this is like what we're doing here is making like sort of a jam to put inside. So we cook it down for about 25 minutes. You don't need to put it high. You put it at low heat. You don't want to make a mess. Here's 3/4 cups of sugar. Teaspoon of vanilla extract. You don't have to put this, but it adds some flavor. You need some tartness, so we put a tablespoon of lemon juice. And a pinch of salt, like 1/4 teaspoon of salt, because salt brings out the flavor. So you need to add salt. Even though it's a sweet thing, you need to add salt. So we stir this up. And then we're going to let this cook for 25 minutes. And now we're going to start to make the pastry dough. So now we're going to start to make the dough. So what do we have here? These measurements, we did them today, we did them in pounds and ounces. So we have a pound of flour, and we have 6 ounces of Crisco. You can use margarine and butter if you want. I don't use margarine, but here I'm using Crisco. In the past, like we used 8 ounces of Crisco in the past. Oh, also I must say before I start telling you about that, we have about 6 tablespoons of cold water. I put a little crushed ice in it just to keep it cold. And then now we're going to mix this in here. So I was saying, I normally use 8 ounces of Crisco. But, you know, when you go and buy this item, pine tart, in the store, the restaurant, it's not as rich as this. But I don't want to criticize the way the restaurants make it, because, you know, it's a commercial business. If you go and buy a pine tart from them and it's broken in 3 pieces, you don't want it. So the more Crisco you add, the more it breaks easier. So what I did was, I used to use 8 ounces, and then it's harder to do, and then it breaks up easily. So then I reduced it to 5 ounces, and I tried it a few years ago, and it wasn't good. So then I went to 6 ounces, which we're doing today, and it comes out a lot better. I'm going to start to use my hands for this. Because when you mix it up, you want it to be like beads inside. And that's why you use the cold water, because you don't want the Crisco to melt. You want it to be like in beads. So you mix it up to beads, and then after we're going to add the water. So it's at the consistency now that I like. You know, if you look at it, the Crisco is mixed in, and it's like beads of it inside. So we're going to start adding the water to mix the dough. I just want to talk a little bit about pine tarts. I've been making pine tarts for many years now. I have one of my best friends in Guyana. His name is Mr. Rohan Singh. For those who don't know Mr. Rohan Singh, I just want to tell you a little bit about him. He was the head of the Presidential Guard, or if you want to call it Secret Service in Guyana. And after the coalition won in 2015, he was one of the first, was the first person to lose their job. Anyways, now he's retired. So Mr. Rohan Singh, he teaches at the Art of Living in Guyana. As a matter of fact, this week they put up a new billboard sign in front of their building. I don't know the exact address. If you need to know that, you just send me a comment and I will send that to you. And they put up a new billboard sign, which was designed by myself and my graphic designer, Alina. So, and he sent me a picture today, and they installed it yesterday, and it looks really, really beautiful. So, when Mr. Rohan Singh comes to Montreal, he normally, pre-COVID, he would come visit me on an annual basis, actually. And he would place his orders for pine tart. So I had to bake these so that when he comes, he'll have pine tart. Now, this mixture here is actually, before I forget, I have to tell you this, it's approximately 12 you will make from this. To make pine tarts, you have to be patient. It's not that easy to do. You know, this dough, it's a little bit hard to deal with, to make. But I found an easy way to do it, which I'm sure you can do the same as me. So coming back to Mr. Rohan Singh, since we met when we were in Standard 4, or what you call grade 6, we were going to Rossignol Primary School. And then we both wrote common entrance together. And then after we went to Rossignol Secondary School. And we developed a very strong relationship, like brothers actually. His mother became like my mother became like his mother. We go way back. And he's a great influence in my life. Like, I'm a martial artist, I do taekwondo, I live off that sport. I have a business where I sell equipment for boxing, taekwondo, Muay Thai, karate. And it so happened that he did Shotokan in Guyana. And I started learning Shotokan in Guyana too. Our sensei was Sensei Franco Natai. I think now Sensei Franco Natai is in Toronto. Okay, so this is what the dough looks like. So we're going to just leave it like this, and then we're going to chill it for 25 minutes. So this is what the dough looks like now. I added a few more, let's say 2 more tablespoons of water to get it to the consistency that I have now. So I'm just going to wrap this up in saran wrap. And then we'll let this chill for I think 25 minutes. So here now, after 15 minutes has gone by, and this is what it's like. This is the consistency, but it needs to cook down. It's getting translucent, so it's another 10 minutes or so. This should be fine. I'm ready now to start to make the pine tarts. We took the dough out of the fridge. It's chilled, so that's okay. Here we have 1 egg yolk with a tablespoon of water, which we'll mix the water, beat it in. After, we'll use this wash to put on top of the pine tart when they're done. For now, we don't need it yet, so we'll put this aside. Here we have some flour, so that's to make the rolling the pine tart out not to stick. And here is the jam. Well, you don't want to overcook the jam. We cooked it more than 25 minutes because we wanted the water to go down, but you need it to have a texture. Don't overcook it for it to be too soft. It needs to have some kind of crunch with it. Okay. Now, for me, what I find what works for me, and my secret to make pine tart, wax paper. The first time I did it without a paper, it like a very bad experience. So then I found that using this wax paper works for me. So I'm going to take 1 sheet, 2 sheets actually. Now, when you're using for the jam, when you use the jam to fold it, the jam should be cool or cold. If the jam is hot and you put it on the dough, the Crisco, you know when I say Crisco, as I now remember, I just want to tell you, it's shortening. It's Crisco shortening. So if you put the hot jam on the Crisco shortening, it's going to melt the shortening, and you don't want that to happen. So you let that cool off. So what I do is this. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about one other item. My secret weapon. Because you need like a 6-inch circle. This is approximately 6 inches, maybe a little bit more. And I use this to cut the dough after. So I put 1 paper under, put flour, put the dough, put the other paper on top, like this, and then I roll. As you can see, I changed the rolling pin. The bigger rolling pin was making it slide on the counter for some reason. I don't know why. So I went back to my regular rolling pin. And that's what you do. You just roll it out until you have like a bigger than a 6-inch circle in the middle. You know? Don't go too thin, don't go too thick. So that looks fine for now. So let's try that. You know, you experiment with the first one. See, you take this, you put it on top, and then you just do that. That's it. And here, you take off the extra dough. Okay. So I think I put a little bit too much there. So you fold 1. You fold 2, and then you fold the bottom part. Leave a little hole in the middle like that, because you don't want it to explode. So I leave a little hole there, and then I take a fork And I mash this down. Mash this down. Like that. And there you go. One Pinetart made. So I'm continue to roll here. You have to be patient. It's not easy to do this because the crust, maybe the professionals have a better way of doing this, but this is what I find that works for me. So I just keep rolling it out. Coming back to growing up in Guyana, I was telling you about me and Mr. Rohan Singh learning Shotokan karate. We used to go to New Amsterdam, and we cross with the ferry. We go to New Amsterdam, and we go to this school, and they had a room there where we learned karate. So at night we would cross back with the last ferry, which is like I think 8:15 at night. It would leave there, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And I used to have to beg to get a lift from the truck drivers to get home. And then when these trucks, they're going to Georgetown empty. And then when they reached my village, I would hit the top of the truck because I'm at the back. And they would slow down, not stop. And I'd have to jump off. I must have been 13 years old when I was doing this. And there were 2 nights when I didn't get a vehicle to give me a lift. So I walk and run home 7 miles in the dark, which is dangerous. So after the second time, my mom said, no more. That's it, you're done. So that was for my karate in Guyana. I only went back to karate when I came to Canada. In 1982, I joined a school here, and I started learning Kyokushin Kai karate. Anyways, I was fortunate enough to get a black belt in that. But then after I found Taekwondo, and I fell in love with that. So I moved over to Taekwondo. And that's a complete addiction. And I'm so lucky that now I could actually me and my son, David, could actually make a living off of this. So there you go. So after using a few times, the paper gets destroyed. So that's why I have many pieces. And then you start over with a new piece. And that's it. You keep making it until you're finished. So we're almost finished. May not be the most beautiful pine tarts you've ever seen, but they'll be delicious. If you want to have an easier time and a better looking one or whatever, what you do is you put less butter or Crisco shortening or margarine or whatever you want to use, and use more water. It will be easier, but you wouldn't get this delicious flaky ones like I'm doing right now. Anyways, I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Benji, one of my best friends. Today is his 63rd birthday. By the time you see this video, it will be after. But today is the 16th of January, and my friend Benji is 63 years old. I just want to give him a big shout out. All the best, bro. Health, wealth, happiness. So now we're going to put this in the oven. The oven is ready at 350 degrees. And we're going to bake for 15 to 20 minutes. You have to look at it to see how it looks. So that's my episode today for Pinetart, Guyanese Pinetart, or pineapple tart if you want to call it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel as yet, I'd like to ask you to please do so. It's a button on the right at the bottom. Please like, share, subscribe. And I'd like to give another shout out to my friend Benji. Happy birthday. And to my friend Rohan Singh, I dedicate this episode to you. I'd like to say congratulations on what you're doing.